perspectives on this. So what are the areas where you saw we have different perspectives on this area? So like, I don't think we need to take over the establishment, but Guillermo does think that. So as we come into our strategy discussions, these are going to be areas where I'm really glad we got to know each other. So what did you guys see in your breakout rooms?
I'll go. It seems like we were focused on problems and solutions. One, Hassan and Layli were really great. It was super great fun to chat with them. And we did have a lot of like, it wasn't discordant. Like there wasn't a big like differential between what we thought. Even though I'm sure there are, but I look for the commonalities. But yeah, I think it was, I don't know, problem and solution. I don't know, Layli and Hassan, did you guys come up with anything?
Yeah, I think one thing that came out was like bringing together different perspectives. I thought that was really interesting. So I was coming from a more technical perspective. I think Lily was coming from a more marketing and entrepreneur perspective, and Newman was sort of putting everything together. So I think, so I think that was really interesting. I think we realized that we have like different, I think, focus and aims, but to get to those, you definitely need to bring in all different perspectives together, rather than just one aspect of it. So I think that was the main one of the main things that came up.
Yeah.
Fabulous. How about the other rooms?
Yeah, I can jump in. For me, I mean, we agreed on about many things, but I think two things that Phil raised, which I love, is actually to make a time, like how do you spend your time? How do you want to spend your time? Like if you look on that, so if you look on environmental versus social, right? Or local versus global, right? So where do you spend your time in percentage-wise? And I think that's very interesting way to look on that, and a lot to reflect on that. And the second thing that he came up with is for himself, basically, which I reflect on that a lot also, is where can we make most impact, right? So, I mean, with all the world of different opportunities, where we feel we can make most impact, and how do we spend the time? So, I mean, that's, I think, two questions to reflect on, in my view.
That's fantastic. And I want to say something about the impact question. There's a whole movement of people, and there's a whole discipline around, it comes out of, I think, Sweden, a book that came out about where do you make the most impact? And they came to the conclusion that climate is the hardest to make impact per the amount of time that you spend. And I've heard people debate on this, and some of them say, like this guy says, look, if we just take care of, where people live and giving them food, you can do much more good, because if people don't build their houses here, then the flood won't reach them. And the other person is like, yeah, but if there's enough floods, we're going to not have food. Like, what does it matter? There won't be any planet. And so there's a real debate, like, what does it mean, impact even? What do you mean, where can we have the most impact? So, and some of that does have to do what calls me and what I'm good at, and some of it has to do with like, where do you think we are? Like, if we can just keep people from building in the valleys, we'll be fine. Some people are like, that's all, because technology is going to solve all of our problems. And other people will be like, technology is not going to solve our problems. So even where can we make the most impact is a very big question. Yeah, who else? What else came up?
I found it very, oh, sorry, Nori, go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, thanks. For our room, the notes that I took were on two topics. We talked about global versus local, and went a little bit into the book Emergent Strategy that a few of us were reading about the fractals and how what's happening with yourself affects your family, affects your community, affects the world. And so you need to pay attention to all of that. And that's why some of those temperature things, you saw people doing this, because they're probably in that space where they're thinking, yeah, global, but also hyper local or whatever that is. So that was a great conversation. And then the other piece was around a lot of different groups and people are doing very similar things, and we're working kind of grassroots and bottom up, but is there a need for top down, or how does that dynamic work? Or really, in my words, how do you transform a crowd into a movement? And I think that's, Grace has mentioned that in the past too, is like, how do you coordinate and collaborate and make sure that you have the greatest impact possible, rather than diffusing this energy across all these groups that kind of do a little bit each, but together they could have been doing this big, massive thing. So that was one of the takeaways that I took as well.
Melanie? And one day I want to, Melanie, the next time you speak over somebody, I want you to go me first instead of no you first, because I've never heard you say that.
That would be all the time then. Me first. I'm always interrupting people. I just found it really interesting to learn a little bit more about you, Grace, about the perspective of preserving knowledge and, you know, for future generations, and your perspective on the collapse is coming very soon, and it's big. You know, it's from, you know, that it's societal, financial, environmental, and what do we do for the next generations after that happens? And it's like, I don't think that way, you know, and it's sort of, it's neat to be able to come together with somebody else and go, okay, I understand your perspective, and I understand this is why this is so important to you, because this is what you do. And it doesn't judge you against what I might believe, but it just comes from these, I think Hassan, you mentioned that, these different perspectives, and that we each come with some sort of gift to this collaboration. So yeah, I thought it was kind of neat. And Guillermo, you know, you listening to you, it's I recognize, Grace, you noticed he was ready to fight politics. I'm feeling his pain because I'm an empath, and I'm thinking about the forest burning at the tip of Argentina, and I'm feeling that. And you know, we need each other in this situation to be able to draw that out, and not lose that little piece in all the noise. So I'm rambling now, but.
Yeah, so that's another perspective, right? How close are we to an emergency situation, or has it already started? We all have different perspectives on that. How much can technology save us, or how much do we just have to hope that the next generation will be preserved? These are all scales. How much should you work within the establishment? I don't want it. My perspective is don't work within the establishment, build something better and run away from that. And Guillermo's no, we got to work with them and take them over. And other people, we got to like change from the inside. We all have really different perspectives on that. John, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just, I mean, it's interesting because in our group there were sort of all of these points came up actually, and I think especially with regard to the last point, thank you for your testimony, Melanie, because it's really, I mean, I'm linking it. It's more of a cerebral reaction, but linking it really to kind of a vision of the world of this kind of beautiful mosaic. And we've all got something to contribute. Finding the common ground is also recognizing that you know, everyone does need their place in that mosaic, you know, but we all have to win to some extent from it. So I think that, you know, it's a mindset in approaching the challenge, because it's not just say, hey, we're going to be all, you know, what are those huggy bears? What are those fluffy sort of, you know, it's you know, bisounours in French. It's like, yeah, sure, we all want to save the world, but we also need to have our place in it, and we're human beings. And I think that we have to recognize that and wholeheartedly embrace that, because we also have needs on this earth, and coming together is also going to help us win together better and have more impact. But we also have to get something out of it. It's not just charity. For some of us, we can give time and charity as well. But that's not necessarily the case for everyone. And typically in groups like this, it tends to be people who also have needs and are having to, you know, plan their time carefully in terms of how they use it. So I think that there's something to be thought about that. Is you know, there'll be some people who get something more out of it than others, but finding those common wins where more of us are getting something out of it, as well as giving into it, of course, I think we have to recognize that issue as well, because I think we'll go further together if we do.
This is great because it goes into my next inquiry, which we're going to just do here. We don't really have not for another breakout room. But I'd like people, John said, we have to, you know, we have to really look at this issue. We have to look at this issue of people's volunteering versus getting something out of it, not just putting in. And so how many times do you say something like, we have to, or the solution has to address this, or the most important thing is, or the only way we're gonna solve this is, right? Like who's guilty of saying that, right? So I'd love us to just do like a speed round. What do you say? And don't do more than 2 sentences, right? So I say, it's gotta be a systems change. What do you guys say? Just like popcorn, 1 sentence.
Okay, what the hell? You've got to make money out of it.
The world won't change until I change.
It's got to start from within. You've heard that. I've heard that. It's got to start from within, right?
It needs to be regenerative.
We have to change incentive systems.
It has to be sustainable.
The change comes within the system, from the system.
Change comes from within the system.
It has to be sustainable.
There needs to be better education.
Need to connect all the impact rebels networks out there.
Okay, we need to, yeah, we need to connect everybody. Great.
We have to take responsibility.
I have to take responsibility.
Balance has to be made.
Balance, we have to have balance. Great.
We need more people to connect business and tech.
Great.
We have to be adaptive and pragmatic. I mean, we have to look at what works and what doesn't. I think that's the most important thing.
I'm gonna go with John. You need to think like Coca-Cola.
Need to think like Coca-Cola.
It needs to be profitable, to be sustainable.
Okay, what about the most important thing? The most important thing is
Taking the CO2 out of Coca-Cola.
The most important thing is it needs to be real.
To me, the most important thing is I have to enjoy doing it. It has to be like, I have to not get worn out doing it. That's the most important thing. And I have to like the people I'm around.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, the most important thing are the community and the relationships for me.
Cool.
The most important thing is to connect the dots.
Awesome.
It's a
The
great
most
question.
important thing is to have tangible solutions that are sustainable and have a local and global impact.
Everything is the most important. It's like, oh, it's local, it's global, it's tangible, it's sustainable, it's all things. Everything is the most important thing. Yeah, totally.
The most important thing is that I recognize you all as my family.
All right.
How about one last one? The most important thing is that it changes the way other people do things.
I'm going to fix them too.
Well, I mean, the idea is to,
But yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And maybe we have enough time before a final reflection to say, what are the red lines for you? Like, what will have you quit the group? Or what, it doesn't have to be this group. In the past, when you've quit a group, what was it? Or it could be like the red line for me is like, if it becomes this, I won't, whatever. So yeah, by whoever has to go. But yeah, what are the red lines for you? And like I said, for me, the most important thing is I have to really enjoy being with the people. If I don't enjoy being with the people, I'm out. It doesn't matter how good they are, how talented they are, or how, I have to really be having a good time with the group.
I guess for me, it would be if you're not like learning and making progress, that would be the main thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me, it's Thursdays. Every Thursday I quit.
Oh, every
And
Thursday you quit. Yeah.
every Friday I come back.
But what about things where you've quit in the past? What are the things that are like, I'm done? Like, this is a red line. It just, I can't.
When I'm not heard, that's the one, because, you know, like you brought it up, I'm a quiet voice. I don't put myself first. And if I don't get heard or respected for what my crazy ideas, yeah, then I'm out.
How important is that? Yeah. How important is that for us to know, right?
I to be honest, that's a rule of engagement, which I think should be true to, you know, performing group. And if one doesn't do that, when we're not working effectively. So I'd certainly agree with that.
When I'll quit the group when my work isn't helping and maybe even hurting. Yeah.
For me, it's about the group trust, and if that isn't there, then it just doesn't work anymore.
I've quit group in the past when I just can't give anymore, or I can't give as much as is needed.
All right. So we'll know. So that also might be something that, again, as your group members, we might be looking, is John looking a little burned out?
I mean, there are always things that you want to do, and there are things that, you know, there's the urgent and the important, and there's the, you know, I guess everyone's got priorities, right? But it's priorities which would get me out.
I've left groups because they recently have been left, like over the last couple of years, is that after a certain number of months, if it's just talking and no doing, I leave. If it's like really great intellectual conversations with people I love, I'm like, yeah, done. Who else? Give example.
I was about to say something similar, that it has to be with a challenge. If there's no challenge, there's no creativity, you get bored, people quit for. So the objective need to be something tangible that you can improve and make better and evolve and evolve and evolve, and that keeps you hooked with what you're doing. It's not only about respect, because you tend to learn how to understand each other. You need to take from somebody, even your worst enemy is going to have something that you can learn from, or the opposite side. You need to find a way to litigate with things. That's why it's not take the establishment. You need to be politics that the establishment needs to take, and they're not going to take them from no one else than from us. It's people that are involved in things for real. So yeah, when you get bored, I have quit for the challenge change, for example. Yeah, misguided.
Cool.
I've quit when the values of the group and my values don't align, realizing that the values change over time.
Anyone else?
For me, ethics is the most important thing.
The what, sorry? Ethics. If something gets a little bit smelly, it's like,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for me, you know, we work together, but there is inspiration always to, you know, to change something big also, right? So to make an impact. So, yeah, as you mentioned, it's not just to be together. So we're working together, building trust, but we want to also take it somewhere. And if I don't feel that that's there, that will be, yeah, something that I will try to push for.
Sebastian and Miguel and Phil, do you want to say something before we go into a round, or Cole? I know Cole is driving, so.
Just for me, it's really difficult to quit to the things because in general, in my mind is full of the purpose of the group, not the group itself. It's the purpose of maybe sometimes the purpose requires my renounce, and I'm in this position to take that bullet. But in general, my mind and my view is, my approach is to the purpose. So I will do whatever I have to do for that purpose. Maybe sometimes in the major part of the inefficiencies could be in me. So first I have to see myself for the bad reasons, and later my partners and my colleagues. And for that purpose, I'm ready to change, because it's a good purpose. I know. 2023 is not a year to renounce, to quit, to things. I don't know 2024, but 2023 will be a year to stay in the game and stay in the front line. That's it.
Yeah, I would say that most of what I was thinking has already been said. You know, kind of quite a lot of the above. Maybe the top two I would pick out would be if the objectives or the goals, we don't have common goals anymore, and talking, not doing. I think they're probably the top two for me.
Yeah.
For my end, similar. I pretty much everyone mentioned everything that I had in mind, except what can really push me like off the edge is, let's say I get wind, or I can smell like there's like a hidden motive or a hidden agenda that is harmful long term. So let's say they say that we are a family, but then there's subtle hints of gaslighting and everything that will really break you down like daily. And then once you reach like a certain point of 2-3 months, you're super burned out, or it's either you're burned out or you're projecting negativity to others. So that's something that will really push me off the edge. It hasn't happened yet because I really know how to manage myself, but I have that in mind. So I really know how to avoid instances before it happens. I'm gone.
Yeah, and that may need that some of the things that came up, particularly like that kind of thing, things around corruption, things around purpose, it may mean that we want to have some kind of ombudsman committee or some official place where people can complain if they feel any of the things, like the leadership is something weird is going on over there, right? So that's one of those, like, okay, we could put some things in place so that people will know where to go if, right, like if they're building up resentments, if they smell some corruption, if they think things are going off track. And that's a very unusual thing to have, even like with a group like this. It's like, oh, well, we've got the steering committee, but maybe you need to have a few people who are easy to talk to, who aren't on the steering committee, that we can go to. But yeah, I'm starting to feel like something's so just before we check out, just to answer Hassan's question, I've done quite a lot of facilitation and been in a lot of workshops, and I have a very long list of tools, and it's really feeling into what's needed and also feeling into the group itself. So this is a very mixed group. Some people have done quite a lot of self-reflection, vipassana, and some people have done none of it. And so the exercises need to go deep, but not be too personal at this point. And then hopefully over the month, we'll be able to get more and more personal. So, yeah.
Thanks. I didn't want to derail the conversation. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So maybe just, does anybody have anything to say to check out? I guess first show of hands, how maybe temperature check. How useful has this been? How much have you learned something about somebody else that's going to really help you in as we go into this next month? Yeah. Okay. Don't know. Okay. But yeah. All right. Great. I'm glad this has been helpful. It's just the start of a process to just start to get to know what are the motivators that each of us has. What are the perspectives? Yeah, love to hear any checkout that people have. We have 3 more minutes, so a few people can pop in and say whatever they have to say for checkout.
Yeah, I just want maybe one thing I would say. Sorry to pip you at the post. One thing I'd like to say is that I'm completely new both to the Cardano group for climate and this group here, apart from Yoram. But I think I don't know if you've done this before, but I think it's really great that you are doing this kind of herding process, and because it was, I think, missing from something I just didn't understand from a distance this last year, and therefore I just didn't engage because I had other priorities. I still do, but I'd like to see where it fits in, and because my day job is also mission driven. So with the difference I have to deliver the others because otherwise I crash and burn. So that's why I'm trying to look for something which is complementary and where I can give, but at the same time, and maybe deviate the direction of what I'm doing to looking for complementarity, because I know I can then contribute in that respect. So that's where my comments are coming from. But so I really applaud this initiative. Enough said.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, complementary, so that you can give. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and welcome, John. I'm running after John for a long time. No, I mean, I know him for a long time, and we met several times, and every time I tell him, jump in, see what's going on. Yeah, so I'm glad to see you here.
But I'm delighted to be here, and I really do hope that we can find a way of space where I can give that's useful.
Any last words? Yeah, Melanie, great. Let's hear what Melanie has to say.
Me first.
Yeah, good. She said it.
I did drop a form in the chat. It's the retrospective from 2022. I'm going to update it to include these temperature checks. Just a scale. I don't typically like to do that, but I just see the value in that, the 1 to 10 on where we are in that, and to help understand each other. So I will update that. It's in the chat.
Fantastic. Anyone else check out words? How was this for you? What would be some words you'd like to leave the group with?
Yeah, well, I'm quite new here, so this is my second meeting, and yeah, I thought this was really great. So yeah, I hope to continue to participate, and so I still need to figure out what my role would be, both in the world of Cardano, blockchains, in general. So yeah, my background is in sort of AI and machine learning. I'm really interested in climate and how we can apply AI and machine learning to climate. But I'm also really, really interested in Web3, decentralization, and the overall philosophy around the whole field. And yeah, so last words, this was really useful to understand like people's perspectives and where everybody's coming from. Yeah, so thanks very much, Grace, for yeah, running this.
Thanks, guys, for bringing your whole selves and really being willing to participate with this. It's just it's different than how most groups operate, and really for the openness and the willingness to say, okay, well, we're really committed and we're going to bring ourselves and say what's really there for us. So thank you.
Thanks, Grace.
Thank you very much. No, yeah. There's now town hall is today this time, or?
Yeah, town hall starting right now. If anybody's interested in more community stuff, it's kicking off.
Right now.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm dropping in the Zoom
Thanks,
town hall stuff for if you want to join the town hall. There's the information. Project Catalyst for anybody that's new.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Ciao.
week.
Thank you, everyone.